Okay, grade 12. So let's take a look at November 2024, paper 1. We're just going to do question 1A, which is inventories. It's Caitlin. She's selling coffee beans and mugs. I'm going to do beans in yellow and mugs in blue, just to separate the two because they're very different. If you'll note here, it's periodic, meaning we're going to have to calculate the cost of sales, and the methods of FIFO for beans and mugs will be weighted average. So first, we're just going to focus on the bags of beans. For the whole year, this is what happened to my beans. I started with 9,000 on stock, and then during the year, I bought a total of 55,000, and they break it down further for you, some in April, July, and September. Take note, 150 bags from the beginning of the year, from the 9,000, if you go back there, was actually used for advertising. So that means they are gone, and we are going to have to minus them in our calculations of what we had available. Then if I go to the second one, it talks about 1,600 that was returned, specifically in April, because April's bags were 20 Rand, and that might be relevant later as well. Good news, there's no delivery or carriages, so that just goes out of the equation. And then finally, very important, I sold 45 bags. I'm going to need that when I'm trying to do a calculation later. Let's see, what do they want with the beans of bags of beans? There we go. First question, they want to know the number of bags that were on hand at the end. So how many did you have left over? So we're going to go to this table that we've got here, and we are going to focus on the units. We are going to ignore the cost and the Rand values. They just want to know the number of bags that we had available. So we started with our 9,000 bags, as you know, in the beginning of the year, but 150 of them was used for advertising, remember, so I am removing them out of the equation. 55,000 was the total of my purchase. Remember that 55. But again, there was 1,600 that was returned, regardless if it's April or whatever. I'm using the big number, the 55. So I'm just taking out the bags that I returned. So now I've got my units clean. 62,250 bags was available to sell during the year. I know how much I sold. I sold 45,000. So if I sold 45,000, that means of the 62, 17,250 is left over. Let's go to the next one. Now they want me to calculate the cost of sales. Now I'm going to have to focus on the Rand value of these bags for the year. Okay, so the cost of sales for the year. So let's do our FIFO method. What does it mean? FIFO means we start from the top, the 9,000, and work our way down. We know we sold 45. So we're going to make sure we take first the 9,000 or the little 8,850. Then I'm going to take some from April, and then I'm going to take some bags from July as well. Note the prices are different for each month. Sorry, I'm going to just take these crosses out because now I'm going to look at the 22 Rand at the beginning, the 20 Rand for April, and the 18 Rand for July's purchases, because somehow I need to add that up to 45,000 that was sold. I'm looking at cost of sales. How much did I sell and what did it cost me? So the 8,850 was the beginning of the year, and we know that they were 22 Rand each, so that's the easy calculation. Then the 28 from April, just make sure you take out the return. They were 20 Rand each, so that's the calculation for April. And then how do I know that I need 9,750 from July's purchase? Well, if you take the two units from the beginning and from April, it only gives you 35,250. But you want 45,000 units. You sold 45. So you need to fill that 35 up to 45. Do your calculation, just minus the 2, and you get 9,750. They will be at 18 Rand. So what you've done is you've used some of July's 13,000 because you did sell some of them. You've got all of September left. They are still on the shelves. And then some of July will still be on your shelves. So if we add all of that together, I get 898,200 for my cost of sales for the year. Caitlin is a little bit concerned because when she started the year, opening stock was 198, and then the closing stocks, which they just give you, you can calculate it, but you don't have to, they've given it to you, was 408, which is like double what she ended with. So she's got a lot of beans in her shop just sitting there. She's worried because after 6 months, they're no good. Now we're going to do a calculation for her. They've given it to you in a little bracket, number of days stock on hand. If I jump to my formula sheet, it's this one here where it says average inventories over cost of sales. And the 365 will give me an answer in days. I'm not going to do it in months. So my average inventories, how do I do that? Take my opening stocks, which they gave you, 198, and you plus the closing, 408, divided by 2 or times half, however you want to say that to make sense. And your cost of sales, you calculated just now in 1.2. So this will probably be a method mark. 898,200 was the correct amount. And you will get a number, 123,23 days. So, yeah, that's almost 6 months, but it is a long time to be sitting with some beans. So she might need to take a look at that. Then let's go to weighted average. We're now going to the mugs. Okay. Coffee mugs. Oh no, that's definitely not yellow. It's a blue. Let's change our color so we don't get confused here. Okay, so they want the weighted average of one coffee mug. So the average price that we're going to go for in this financial year for one mug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all the purchases together, but in Rand value. And that includes my opening stock. So if I go to my money, I'm looking for Rand values. I can find here, there's 15 Rand in the beginning for the 1,200 mugs. And then I've got some Rand value here, 264 and 32. The 32,000 was actually a return that was done. So I'm going to take that out of the 264,000 worth of mugs that was bought. And then there's a unique one where there's 100 mugs that was just given to us. And that will just be added as stock, but they've got no value because I didn't have to pay for them, but I will be making profits on them. I'll show you what I mean by that. And then carriages is a nice full number. You don't have to calculate it. It's 27, and they tell you how much you sold, 20,000 mugs. So let's work out what's the weighted average. Long calculation divided by the number of units. I didn't mention that. So at the top of the line, I've got the 1,200 that I started with in the financial year, okay, and they were 15 Rand each. And then I have the 264, which I showed you I was looking for Rand values, minus the 2,500, which is also a Rand value. And then this 27 is my carriages or my delivery cost that I had. So that's the total amount of money that all of this cost me. I'm adding it all together. And then at the bottom, I have got my units. I'm looking at my units. So, but it must relate directly to what I just did above. So, for example, the 1,200 units must be there. Then, oh, I'm short of 0 here. There's 22,000 here. So 22,000 is sitting in that. And then the 2.5 that was returned is sitting in that amount. No, wait, it's not 30. It's 32. I'm missing a 3 there. It was when I erased it. 32 is, that's 32. Yes. Okay, I'm confusing myself now. And the actual units are at the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this so that we're all on the same page. At the top, I've got the total value of my stock. And at the bottom, I've got the total number of units that stock is. Note that there is a little friend floating here that was not at the top, which is 100 units that was just given to me. It didn't cost me anything, so there's no value for it at the top. But it helps that my cost price can come down. So my cost price is sitting at 13 Rand 30 per mug. Lekker cheap mugs. Now they want you to calculate the markup that you achieved, because you do know what you sold them for. They told you that you sold them for 30 Rand. So you're going to take the 30 Rand minus this cost price that you just calculated here at the top. So it's sitting right there. And then you've got your gross profit. Now, your gross profit is important because if you know your formulas, go to your formula sheet. It will be this formula over here where cost of sales is at the bottom and gross profits at the top. I'm trying to calculate my markup percentage. So it's a grade 9 calculation. So take this 16 Rand 70, put that over your cost of sales, and you know what your markup percentage was. Finally, explain why weighted average is for the coffee mugs. You could say he's got large quantities of it that he bought. It's just much easier to calculate the cost price this way. Or you can say the mugs don't really vary that much in price, so it's not a problem to calculate it this way. Then 1.6, here's a tip. If they ever put something in bold, like they did here, financial and financial, make sure your answer is a financial advantage. So you can't just say they're giving them 10% discount, so you're going to have more customers and more regular returns. And no. You have to talk about money. You're going to have to say you're going to make more profit because your customers are going to come back and they're going to buy more. Disadvantage financial. You're going to have to say you're going to make less profit because your margin is going to go down. So make sure you comment on what they say in bold.